9 years ago, when I started this YouTube thing, I did a series called the Mass Monster Hunting series. That was the first series I ever did on YouTube. And I went around killing a whole bunch of stuff just to figure out how many could you kill in an hour? What kind of profit could you make per hour? So now at this point, 9 years later, I looked back and I was like, you know what? That was pretty fun. But there's been so many gear upgrades since then. So what if I did it again, but in the best in slot stuff that we have today, to compare it to back then in 2016-ish and see exactly how much power creep has entered the game. What are the differences? What are the DPS differences? What are the kills per hour differences? How much more can you make now? Another reason I started doing this was because you always saw guides out there that could say, you could kill this many per hour, but it was always the maximum amount, and nobody's ever going to get that maximum amount. And the reason I say that is because there's always a human factor when you're doing stuff like this, camping something for hours and hours. Well, I take that into account because every person, when they're sitting there camping something for hours and hours, gets lost in thought sometimes. And you waste a few seconds here and there. I do it. I'll be thinking about, this would have been a really good comeback for that argument that I had 8 years ago. You know, stuff like that. Everybody does that. So this puts into account the human factor, but we're also going to take a look at what the maximum possible kills could be if you were a robot. Hey, before we get started with this video, if I could borrow 30 seconds of your time. If you didn't know, I do have a merch store. It is over on Etsy. You can find a link in the description below. Everything in this shop is handmade by me at home in my office and shipped directly to you. All kinds of cool stuff in there: mouse pads, beer steins, pint glasses, t-shirts, hoodies. Take a look if you got a chance, and if you see something you like, I will get it to you. So we're going to start this series off with Abyssal Demons. That was the very first YouTube video I ever uploaded for my channel, 10,000 Abyssal Demons. Now I can't remember how many hours it took me to do that, but 10,000 was probably a bit unnecessary. We didn't have to go that far to see what the actual kills per hour would be, what kind of money you could make. So we knocked it down to 12 hours, but I did do it for 12 hours straight, constant game time. I did pause the timer to do clue scrolls and stuff that were dropped, but the point of the video is if you spent 12 hours at Abyssal Demons, how many kills could you get per hour? How much money can you make per hour? And it's just taking into account if that's all you did. Some people don't even stop to do clue scrolls, but I do because I wanted to add them into the video. So let's get started. We're going to start out with the chosen gear that I'm using at this current time. So for the gear that I chose to use, I went with the full Torva set, the Infernal Cape, the Amulet of Rancor, the Rada's Blessing, Emberlight, Avernic Defender, Ferocious Gloves, Primordial Boots, and the Altor Ring. That is currently best in slot, or sort of. The Oathplate armor did recently come out, and it is specific to Slash. Now, I could have used that, but I actually chose to go with this because of the additional defense bonuses. That way I didn't have to use any food, and the Saradomin Godsword that you see in my inventory would sustain me perfectly for the entire time. As for the inventory, you see that Saradomin Godsword there. I also took 2 super combat potions with me, and I used the Preserve Prayer to keep those stats boosted as long as I could, and only repotted when my levels dropped under 110. Now, the Prayer Potion was there just for an emergency. I actually never ended up using one sip because the special attacks from the Saradomin Godsword kept my prayer up to keep using that Preserve Prayer. The other 3 items are the Herb Sack because they do drop herbs, and I wanted to pick those up. The Max Cape to get out of there when I needed to bank or do a clue scroll, and the Rune Pouch with high alchemy runes because they do drop some rune items, and I wanted to alch those along the way. So that is what I'm using today in 2025 to camp Abyssal Demons. So now let's take a look and compare at the current best in slot setup to the best in slot setup back in 2016. And I am using, and I know I pronounce this wrong every single time, Bitter Koekji. I don't know how to pronounce that. Nobody's ever told me. I'm probably never going to know. But I am using the Bitter Koekji DPS calc to check out the comparison here. Now, on the left, you'll see the best in slot setup from 2025. And on the right, you will see the best in slot setup from 2016. Back then, it was the Abyssal Whip on Slash with a Blessing, Nate's Knot, Helmet, Fire Cape, Amulet of Fury, Bandos Chestplate and Tassets, Dragon Defender, Barrow's Gloves, Dragon Boots, an Imbued Berserker's Ring, and that was what you got. Now let's take a look here at the stats of those armors. 12 increase on the max hit. That is a 30.77% difference in today's damage versus the set from back in 2016. As for the accuracy, we've picked up almost 15%, and the special attack accuracy over the Abyssal Whip, about 8%. The DPS increase is pretty substantial, 49.97%, 9.23 DPS in 2025, a full 3 damage per second over the 6.15, a little bit more than 3, actually. As for the expected seconds to kill, that's the important part here because we want to know how many we could possibly kill in an hour at the maximum rate. Expected 18 seconds nowadays to kill an Abyssal Demon in the gear that I'm using. Back then it was 26.44, so a difference of almost 8.5 seconds. And that can add up over time, a lot. So here's the important question. How many more Abyssal Demons can you kill nowadays than you could back in 2016? Well, if you are absolutely perfect and you didn't miss any ticks, and we go off of the expected seconds to kill, at this current time, in the current gear setup in 2025, you could kill 199 Abyssal Demons per hour. Back in 2016, with the best in slot setup from that era, you would be expected to kill 136 Abyssal Demons per hour if you were absolutely perfect. So we have increased 63 Abyssal Demons over the course of the last 8 to 9 years with gear upgrades. Now, of course, you're never going to be perfect. You're always going to lose ticks running between the Abyssal Demons once you finish one off and you're moving to the next one that might be a few tiles away. So we're actually going to find out exactly how many I could kill based on the stats and everything that I took. So in order to get the most accurate number, I went ahead and reset the streak for my Slayer kill log all the way to 0 for everything in there, because I'm going to be doing quite a few of these videos, backing up and seeing the comparison between a lot of monsters that I did in that very first YouTube series that I did. So for this one, 12 hours of Abyssal Demons and paying as much attention as I possibly could, I ended up with 1,972 Abyssal Demon kills. With those 1,972 kills, that ended up averaging me 164 kills per hour over the course of those 12 hours. Now that is 35 less than the expected maximum if you were absolutely perfect. And that's that human factor that I'm talking about. Sometimes your mind wanders, sometimes you just get up and go AFK for a couple of seconds, or you look away, or your Netflix show catches your eye and you're staring at that for a little bit and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing something. So yeah, 164 Abyssal Demons per hour is what I averaged. So now, what about the loot? What can we expect from 12 hours at the Abyssal Demons? So here is my loot tracker for the 1,972 Abyssal Demons. RuneLite says 1,969. Obviously, it did miss a few, but the game doesn't. So I don't know where those 3 kills were, but they probably weren't significant. Regardless of that, I did pick up all the drops that I'm going to show you in just a second. But according to RuneLite's loot tracker, it is 9.14 million GP in those 12 hours, but I didn't pick up all of this stuff. I didn't pick up the Chaos Talismans, the Cosmic Talismans, obviously the Black Axes and Black Swords. So that is a moot point, whatever it is adding to this loot. So let's take a look at what I actually did pick up. So here it is, the spoils of my 12 hours of hard labor at the Abyssal Demons in the Catacombs of Kourend. Not a whole lot of money. 875,000 GP, and that is just from alching the rune items. I was unfortunate enough to only get 2 Abyssal Whips and 1,969 kills. I should have seen 3 in that KC, but the luck just wasn't there. I was quickly approaching 4 if I would have gotten roughly 60 more kills. That would have been the drop rate for around 4. As for the herbs, I did have the herb sack, so I went ahead and picked them all up just because, why not? There's some Renar weeds in there, 190k from that, as well as some other herbs. 100 silver ore. I didn't get a single tooth half key. All of them were loop halves, so 7 of those, and 92 in sold abyssal heads for a total of 5,039,870 GP. So with that total loot, it brings me to a whopping 419,000 GP per hour, which in today's day and age is not very good. Abyssal demons nowadays are really only good for the Iron Man, trying to get that Abyssal whip to make the Abyssal tentacle. At some point, everybody else can just buy one for pretty cheap, 1.6 mil each. Now, what if we took the unique drops out of the equation? So we've removed the Abyssal Whips from the price checker, which is only 1,707,022 GP. Divide that by the 12 hours I spent there, and the average income per hour is 142,251 GP. But we still have to deduct supplies from this, so we'll throw the whips back in there, and we'll figure that out as well. As for the supplies used, the only supplies that I used throughout this entire 12-hour endeavor was 17 Super Combat Potion 4 doses. And that brings my total supply cost to 227,426. So subtracting that from our 5,039,870 GP, that leaves me with 4,811,952 GP. Subtracting that out leaves me with a grand total of 400,996 GP per hour. So in today's day and age, with all the different bosses out there that can make you millions upon millions of GP per hour, obviously there still are some monsters out there that are worth camping, and we're going to find them. But for Abyssal demons, probably not. It's just not like it was back then in 2016. Back then, Abyssal whips were worth a bit more, and there wasn't as many ways to make a lot of money quickly in the game in 2016. But nowadays, you don't have to worry about that. You can make a lot of cash pretty quick. So at the end of this, my advice to you is do not camp Abyssal demons. If you have them for a Slayer task, by all means, get them done. But if you're looking to make some money, Abyssal demons is probably not the place to go. So that is going to do it for the Abyssal Demon portion of this video, but I did get 20 hard caskets and 3 elite caskets throughout these 12 hours, so we're going to go ahead and open them. Maybe we'll get lucky enough to find a couple of masters in there. So let's do that, see what I can find. All right, let's jump into these clue caskets. We'll start out with the hard caskets, because everybody loves clue caskets. And if you don't, then you're weird. Sorry, but you're weird. So 20 of these, let's see what we get on the first one. Nice. Rune Kite Shield G. Next one, 40k on that one. 98k. 69k. 276,000 on hard casket number 5 there, and that is because of the purple sweets. Then we've got 213,000. Not bad. We'll go ahead and throw this into the Abyssal Demon loot tab so we can keep opening real quick. Forgot the cash. 14 to go. 63k. 75k. 220,000. 52k. And a master clue. So I'll go ahead and pause the recording now, get this master clue done, and then we'll continue on with our 9 hard caskets. All right, got my master clue casket, so we'll go ahead, pop that into the bank. We've got 9 hards left, so let's go. 55k. 25k. Yikes. 157. 1.3 mil, not bad. Armadillo D-Hide boots, Lunar Isle teleports, and Narda teleports. 101,000. We'll go ahead bank real quick. 4 left. 148k. 151. 9,300. Jeez. And our last hard casket is... I've run out of prayer points. It was 36k. All right. Not too terrible. 3.52 mil from 19 hard clue caskets. And we've got 3 elite caskets. First one, 3.2 mil. Not bad with the dark tuxedo jacket. Not bad at all. Next one, 86k. Now that's more normal. That looks like an elite casket right there. And our last one, 61k. So we've got that master clue. Maybe you get lucky, pull a bloodhound pet out of it. Probably not. And we got 351k. So not too bad. So the loot tab at the very end there, 7.006 million GP after opening, I believe that was 24 caskets. RuneLite didn't pick up that last one because my prayer points ran out, but not too terrible. In the end, about 7 million GP there, almost, from those caskets. So that is going to do it for this one. Thank you guys for watching this comparison video between the gear we used in 2016 and the gear we use now in 2025. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up down below. And if you haven't done so yet, tap that subscribe button on your way out. I will see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.